Hey everybody, it's your boy Pee Wee back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about another manhwa that just recently came out. It's called The Seventh Prince Wants to Bail, or The Seventh Prince Escapes His Uncertain Fate. Basically, our comic starts out with our main character here, who is basically broke and, struggling in his everyday life. We find out that basically the reason for his uncertain circumstances is because he gets scammed by this high school friend of his who basically handed him a contract and basically said, scroll up a little bit. Uh, Basically, I told you not to think about anything and just to sign it. So he gets told to basically just sign this contract, don't think about anything. And eventually it leads him to becoming broke, can't afford anything, which eventually leads basically to him falling in love with this story. Basically, he has like one hobby because he can't afford to do anything else, and so which is reading this novel, Dark Header. One night when he goes to read it, the book basically, I don't know if the book kills him or like what really kills him, but basically it pulls his soul into this story, which we find out he gets reincarnated as the seventh prince of the empire in this story, who is basically destined to die a miserable death early on in the story. Typically, well, we know that, if you've read a lot of villainous comics, you see this plot line a lot, or even some other like reincarnated stories with male leads. There's also this plot where like the main character uh, takes over the body of like a disgraceful we have the plot where like his maid does like makes one mistake and like fears for her life essentially because he's such like scumbag. He's a horrible like demonic person, right? Like he isn't good by any means. So he takes over this character, and he has this interaction with one of his like servants who is basically uh claims to like to have this, it claims to be a relative of the empress, using that to basically fabricate documents and embezzle from the seventh prince, who the original seventh prince had no idea, and basically was just completely oblivious to this person's antics. However, we find out that during a conversation, our main character hears the same words that he heard from his childhood friend, who basically told him to just don't think about anything and sign here. His like servant in this world basically tells him the exact same thing, which like flips like this switch in his brain to where he remembers this, and then he completely just does like a 180, thinking that he's no longer gonna live so like submissively. He's not gonna be passive. Then we see him like lash out against his subordinate here, throws a teapot, hot water pot at him. And we find out that actually the relationship between this person and the empress is so distant that it's basically non-existent. And so basically at the end of the chapter, he says, using the knowledge he has from the novel and the power as a prince, he is going to basically completely change the trajectory of this seventh prince's life, which is now his life, in hopes to not die early in the story and to live the life that he wants to live, rather than being so like passive and submissive as he was in his previous life. And that's pretty much what the story is going to be like, it seems. Um, if you can read this quick summary on manga updates. I use this website a lot to do like summaries and stuff. But it basically just says he's going to use the events of the story. They start to happen sooner than he thinks, and basically he just has to use his knowledge to maneuver and find his way through this life. So the art seems okay. I mean, there are scenes like this which are cool. You have like that ending scene where he's like aura farming, like in this here. There isn't anything special. Like it doesn't look like ultra HD like some comics do these days, like absolute regression and stuff. But it is, it's decent art. This is like pretty standard. I mean, it's not anything great. It's not anything bad. I mean, it's good enough to not bother me. So, I mean, I like it. I have hopes for this story. I like these types of. I like regression. I meant not regression. Reincarnation stories. I do. And I hope to see you know, basically him keep this same type of energy throughout the entire story and not just in like the first chapter. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today was this comic. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, leave a sub. I hope to see you guys more in the future. Help me grow this channel so I can continue making these videos and, you know, talking about the comics I love with all of you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.